All right, guys, so this is some code that we wrote a little while back when we learned about callbacks. We have a post array, and then what we did is we had a create post function that runs 2 seconds after the page loads, and a get post function that gets these posts that runs only 1 second. So what was happening before we used callbacks was we called create post, and then we called get post. However, get post took only 1 second, and it added the two posts. When we ran create post and added the third one, the two posts were already on the page. So get post had already run. So what we did is we implemented a callback. So create post takes in a callback, and then that function runs immediately after we add the post. And then we just added get post as a callback into create post. All right, so this is how we can deal with asynchronous code. Now, this uses callbacks, but what I want to do is refactor create post to use a promise instead of having to use a callback. All right, so first step is to get rid of that CB. We don't need that, and we don't need to call it right here. So what I'm going to do is wrap everything in a promise. So I'm going to say new, or I want to return a promise. So I'm going to say return new promise. Now, promise takes in a function, and that's going to take in resolve and reject. All right, and then what I'll do is just move this set timeout with the post push. I'm going to take that and put that inside of the promise, and then I'm just going to, after we push the post, I'm going to then just call resolve. All right, now we don't have to do anything to get posts. Down here, instead of passing get posts in as a callback, what we can do is on create post, we can go ahead and add dot then, because now it returns a promise. So the way we handle a promise is with a dot then. And then in here, we can simply pass in get posts as the function. All right, so I'm going to save this, and it should work the same way. So after a few seconds, we should see post 1, 2, and 3. Now, just as we're kind of mimicking an asynchronous task, let's mimic an error. So within the set timeout, I'm just going to create a variable, let's say error, and I'm going to set that to false to begin with. And then we're going to check to see if not error. So if not error, then let's take these two and let's move these into here, and then we'll say else. So if there is an error, then we're going to want to reject, and I'll reject with a message and just say something went wrong. All right, now to catch an error, to catch a reject, we need to use dot catch. So I'm just going to put this on the next line, and then directly under that, let's do dot catch. All right, now we could just put a function right in here, but let's add a named function. We'll say show error. Okay, so now up here, let's create a function called show error, and that's going to take in the error. Whatever we pass into reject will go in there. And let's show it on the page. So we'll just create an H3. Let's say document dot create element and create an H3. And then let's add, let's say inner HTML, and then I'm going to put some backticks. We'll use a strong tag. And in here is where we want to output the error. And then we want to add it to the DOM, so I'm going to go ahead and say document dot, and we'll just use get element by ID, and we'll use the ID of posts, and let's append child, and we're going to append that H3. So if I save it, there's no error right now because I have this set to false, so everything works. But if there's something goes wrong, we set that to true, then we're going to see that something went wrong message on the page. All right, so again, this is what is really important to know, is to handle a promise. We use a dot then, we pass in a function. If we want to check for errors, which in most cases you do, we do a dot catch.